how did you end up in Bollywood? And coming from Bangalore, you're born and brought up here, right? How did Bollywood
And an
happen
engineer
to
to
you?
boot.
An engineer to boot, which is not anomaly in this city, right? You throw a stone and you hit a engineer in this city, right?
very likely. Yes. This idea of me being in Bollywood happened because I teach a lot. You know, I do acting courses and I do filmmaking courses, scripting courses, and I have a kind of small following.
So since school you were doing this acting and things?
See, the house I grew up is called Green Room because my father went to do makeup for my mother when she was still in her 12th. She was acting in a play and boys and girls were not allowed to go on stage together. So she was doing a man's role. My father went to do makeup to put mustache. And she wanted a real thing. And he laughed and said, sometimes it'll grow. She said, I won't marry, it's okay, you put it. And he fell in love with her. He pursued her for 3 years and they got married. The house was called Green Room.
Okay.
I grew up, you know, probably the first words I've heard or lines from a play. They were always rehearsing at home. I come from a theatre family. Everybody in my family is a theatre person. Everybody.
So what happened? How did engineering happen to you then?
You know, because you can't make money out of theatre. My mother worked in ESI Corporation. My father worked. He was if you had Prestige pressure cooker at home, the man holding that cooker was my father. He was the general manager marketing. He started from the floor, and he grew up to become general manager. 78, I joined engineering.
Okay, 78. Okay.
Yeah.
So it was to chase and earn a decent living.
No, it's if you get above 90% in maths, physics, and all that, you're cursed. You have to do engineering.
So that happened.
There is no other way. There is that you have to.
So did your parents pressurize you,
No,
or you
no,
yourself
they didn't.
decided that you wanted to be an
Yeah,
engineer?
I wanted to do mechanical engineering. I didn't want to do acting. I
And
wanted
then
to do that.
how
yeah.
did acting happen?
So, but I started with lighting and makeup, and then I began to direct plays. And I began to teach, for lots of people would call me to give lectures. I was a software programmer for about 6 months.
Okay.
I used to do BASIC and COBOL, those days, languages I used to do. I quit all that and I became a journalist with Indian Express for 2 years. And then 2 more years with Sunday. But throughout I kept doing theatre, even when I was doing those things. I would go rehearse early in the morning at 6 a.m. Because I had to have I was a crime reporter for Indian Express.
So was the question of money on your mind? Did your
I
parents
felt-
kind of
No,
question
my
you?
mother, my dad didn't mind, but my mother was bitterly disappointed that I finished engineering with a first class and, I took a job with Indian Express for 560 rupees.
How tough was it for you?
It was
Did
very
you
tough.
have a lot of questions inside you?
No,
Huh?
No.
You were clear.
I don't mind poverty.
Huh?
I don't mind being poor.
So it was an easy answer for you.
It was very easy. My best years of my life were those 2 years in Indian Express,
Okay.
But I kept doing theatre throughout. So I've always been teaching, because I'm an amateur theatre person. When somebody says, I want to act in a play, I'll start them on the fringes of the production and sometimes they get to act. So I have a kind of following with young people even now. Like a lot of them come to me for advice.
Okay.
One such boy finished his graduation at Manipal with mass comm and he came, Arjun Chakradhar is his name. He came to Bangalore to meet me because he was a fan of a series I was doing for Doordarshan for ETV called Garva. It was a cult series.
This is when?
2000, 2002. Like
So
that
early
time.
2000. Okay.
And his family were watching it and he was still in high school or something. He was a big fan of that. So when he finished, the first person he came to meet was me to take my advice. He was in a local TV channel. He would keep meeting me for advice. I said, if you want to be a film director, don't be in Bangalore. Go to Mumbai or Chennai or Hyderabad, I said. So he went 2008 to Mumbai. He began to work with Shujit Sarkar. Then he sent two scenes of a movie with the character sketch.
Okay.
And and I said, who wrote this? This is stunning. I said, who wrote this in Bombay? I said. Then he said, Juhi Chaturvedi, and this is by Shujit Sarkar,
Which movie was
Madras Cafe.
Madras Cafe.
And he said, sir, I can't convince them. They don't know you. Will you just do an audition and send it? So with my own group, I directed and shot an audition of me playing that role. And the story goes that there were 52 people who had auditioned for it. Mine was the second. And Shujit said, only if you get somebody better than this, call me, otherwise I don't want to watch anything else. Then he called me and I acted in that, and now I've done about 85, 90 films. So that's how I was in Bollywood. But I've acted in 6 languages. It's not just, I've done Malayalam cinema, I've done Tamil cinema, I've done Telugu cinema, I've acted in a Marathi film.
For stories like this, keep following us. From Code to Culture, our podcast. Subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media.